In today's chilling story, we'll dive into the mysterious disappearance of Elizabeth Short, the woman known as the Black Dahlia. In 1947, Elizabeth vanished from Los Angeles, leaving behind only questions. Despite her disappearance being one of the most high-profile cases in American history, her fate remains shrouded in mystery. Was she murdered, or did she vanish for reasons unknown? Join us as we explore the strange and disturbing circumstances surrounding Elizabeth Short's disappearance and the unanswered questions that continue to haunt this unsolved case. Elizabeth Short was born on July 29, 1924, in Boston, Massachusetts. From an early age, Elizabeth's life was marked by hardship. Her father abandoned the family when she was just a young child, and Elizabeth's mother, Phoebe, had to raise her and her sisters alone. Despite the difficulties in her early years, Elizabeth had dreams of a better life, one where she could escape her troubled childhood and make a name for herself in Hollywood. In the early 1940s, Elizabeth moved to California, hoping to build a career in the film industry. While she never achieved the fame she dreamed of, she was often noticed for her striking beauty and became a fixture in Los Angeles nightlife. She was frequently seen at bars and clubs, making connections with people who were connected to the entertainment world. However, she never made it past small roles and had to settle for life as a waitress. Elizabeth's life in Los Angeles seemed filled with promise, yet it also seemed full of loneliness and frustration. Though she had brief relationships with various men, none of them were particularly significant, and she remained largely an enigma to those who crossed her path. Little did anyone know that her life was about to take a dark turn. On January 15, 1947, Elizabeth Short was reported missing after she failed to return to her apartment in Los Angeles. Her last known whereabouts were a visit to a friend, but after that, no one knew where she had gone. Her sudden disappearance sent shockwaves through the city, and it wasn't long before the media began speculating about what had happened to her. At first, her disappearance seemed like a simple missing persons case, but the situation quickly became more complex. The media began to refer to her as the Black Dahlia, and rumors swirled that Elizabeth had been involved in some dangerous relationships or had gotten mixed up with unsavory individuals in Hollywood. As more time passed, people began to wonder if Elizabeth had disappeared willingly or if something far more sinister had occurred. The Los Angeles Police Department launched a formal investigation into her disappearance, but no solid leads emerged. Elizabeth's family and friends were interviewed, but they all described her as someone who had simply vanished without a trace. Some suggested that she might have been hiding out due to a personal issue, but the lack of evidence left authorities puzzled. As the weeks turned into months, the search for Elizabeth Short grew more desperate. The Los Angeles Police Department followed up on numerous leads, but none led to anything concrete. Friends of Elizabeth were questioned, and even possible witnesses who may have seen her around town during her last days were interviewed, but none could provide a clear answer. Some investigators suggested that Elizabeth may have been trying to escape from someone or something, given her isolated lifestyle and short relationships. A few theories emerged that Elizabeth could have been trying to start a new life, especially since she had talked about leaving Los Angeles in the weeks before her disappearance. But could it be that she left on her own? Or was there something far darker lurking behind her sudden departure? The media frenzy around her disappearance only intensified, with many believing that there had to be more to the story. Did Elizabeth encounter someone dangerous, or was there an unseen hand that had forced her to vanish? Despite the many theories, no one knew where she had gone or why she disappeared so suddenly. As months passed, new theories began to emerge. Some speculated that Elizabeth might have been involved in a secretive romance or love triangle that led to her disappearance. Others suggested that her disappearance was tied to something more ominous, such as involvement in organized crime or the darker side of Hollywood. One theory that gained some attention involved a man named George Hodel, a wealthy physician who had a reputation for his eccentric and sometimes suspicious behavior. Some investigators, including George Hodel's son, Steve Hodel, who was a former detective, suggested that George had something to do with Elizabeth's disappearance. According to Steve, his father had a troubled history and possibly had knowledge of things that could explain why Elizabeth disappeared. However, there was no proof to link George Hodel to the case, and the theory remained speculative. Another theory that gained traction was that Elizabeth may have been deliberately erased from the public's view because she had become a liability to someone powerful in Hollywood. This theory speculated that she could have been caught up in a web of secrets and power struggles, forcing her to disappear or be hidden for good. More than 70 years have passed since Elizabeth Short's disappearance, and the mystery remains unsolved. Despite numerous theories and renewed interest in the case over the years, Elizabeth's whereabouts remain a mystery. Is she alive today, living under an assumed identity, or did something darker happen to her that we will never fully understand? Over the years, there have been occasional sightings of women who resembled Elizabeth Short, but none of these leads have turned into anything meaningful. Some believe that Elizabeth may have indeed started a new life under a different name, while others think that the clues might point to something far more sinister. Whatever happened to her, Elizabeth Short's story continues to fascinate and puzzle those who study the case. The mystery of Elizabeth Short's disappearance remains one of the most perplexing cases in American history. Was she trying to escape her past? Or was she the victim of something far more chilling? Despite years of investigation and numerous theories, Elizabeth Short's fate remains unknown, and the question still lingers. Where is Elizabeth Short, and what truly happened to her on that fateful day in 1947? Thank you for joining us on this episode of The Hidden Truth True Crime Story. Until next time, we'll continue exploring the dark, unsolved mysteries that continue to keep us wondering.